Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Mobi. I'm Dr. Mobi, and today we are fortunate to have great guest and author. Let's welcome Rene. Rene, how are you doing?
I'm amazing. Thank you. I just
Thank you.
released my book. It's doing well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. So, tell me a little bit about yourself to my audience.
Well, I suffered sexual and physical child abuse from diapers to age 17. And
Mhm.
I was also bullied severely. And so, of course, the natural consequence of that is 30 years of CPTSD and just trying to overcome low self esteem and self loathing and hatred of the whole world, right? And so I spent a lifetime, well, I'm a Christian. And so while I had faith, which gave me hope, I didn't have the coping skills to deal with all of the stuff that still was coming at me and triggers and everything. And so I just have spent a long time dealing with that. And it wasn't until several years ago, 2015, 2014, I had a nervous breakdown and I clawed my face off in shame of everything I was. And I went to rehab, and it was there that my nurses, Holly and Molly, taught me that everything that had been done to me and said to me was not about me, it was about other people. And that was an epic first step. It was a huge
Mhm.
first step to healing. And so I started with, excuse me, I learned about binaural beats. I found binaural beats and theta sounds, and I started using that. I would listen up to 5 hours a day just to soothe the racing thoughts, the negative thoughts, all of that. And then I also filled it with affirmations. So I have my favorite people on YouTube that I've listened to, and my mom was actually a social worker, and since I've been labeled as bipolar earlier in life, I was familiar with a lot of different aspects of psychology and the terms and triggers and the root causes of things. And so I was able to um, study up on that and personality disorder and all of that kind of thing. And I finally have made it through and survived very scary 3-year suicide situation. And so I've started writing, and I'm halfway through my memoir, and I just finished or just released my book for children on loss and grief. And my book, while it's a story on loss and grief of a child's little grandma, really the story is on hope and overcoming for adults. The story is for children, and the story of the story is for adults.
Mhm. Okay, well, first of all, sorry to hear all that. It's been a lot of things, and but also, congratulate as the survivor and a fighter. I should say, fighter of. I think those to go through. I think words cannot express the journey you went through, and we can't summarize that all in such a small session. But I can say that you're a fighter, and congratulate on that fighting and being a beacon to other people, helping so many, and who would listen to your story, or who would get a guidance and say there's a hope, and then there is a way to deal with it. So that's great. Tell us about your book. What is that about?
My book, I can show it, right? I'm
Sure.
still getting used to being on. My book is called A Million More Kisses,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about little Geronimo the Chihuahua. And I don't know if you can see his. Oh, I have a light
Yeah.
shining.
Yeah, I can see the bottom,
His
if you
yeah,
really. Yeah.
his nanny. And so Geronimo takes you through the beautiful New England seasons and his relationship with Nani as it blossoms, and then she ends up getting dementia. So the book touches on symptoms and how kids can understand elder care and everything, and they comes
Mhm.
together to take care of Nani, and he learns sacrifice and self-discipline, and then he loses Nani, and he teaches children uh, confidence and confidence and coping skills in the end. It's got
Mhm.
talking points on grief and loss in the end.
Mhm.
And can I read one part
Yeah, yeah.
of the book?
By all means,
So
go.
yeah, so this part of the book is
Mhm.
the funeral. This is the
Oh.
funeral. So I want to give an example of just one of the many lessons in the book. At
Mm-hmm.
Nani's funeral, everyone had special stories to share about her. Geronimo learned a lot about Nani. When someone needed a place to live, Nani would invite them to stay. When someone came over for a visit, Nani would cook them a meal. Geronimo realized he must be special for Nani to love him so much.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
so,
that is
just
beautiful.
the first step, teaching the child self awareness and who he is and the whole scope of what's going on, you know. And then the next page, he realizes that memories are a gift, a special gift left by someone who will always love him. And so it's just chock full of things. In the end, it talks about helping the child learn that they can tell stories to their loved one. They can still, they can allow the memories to just be a gift, and they can choose joy. And when the child is in the right frame of mind from that self awareness, they're able to, you know, choose joy during the day.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is beautiful, and I think I remember from we used to teach parents also about, love is actually the language child learns first. When mom smiles or parents smile at them, that's the first language they'll learn, and that's the only language they communicate. So
Mm-hmm.
and that, they respond by smiling, so it's social smile. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how the child will start, and that's so beautiful how you are portraying that. Then, that they knew the name, and they will respond to that, and so then they will respond with, mama, dada. So that's beautiful. How we are actually wired internally in the brain with love always. But it's sad, later on the emotion is, of liking or not liking things, or knowing what, and then that becomes, so all children actually learn love and smile first. So, and then they kind of, so which means that if they work backwards, or their core is always beautiful. So, and so that's what we really believe in that, and then we can really help anyone to establish their core back to, so because their core will always be beautiful and love, so they can really, heal better that way. So,
And
so tell us
can I
also
just real
about.
quick? Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. It's funny. The one thing people talk about my book, oh, it's going to help kids get through grief. But what it really comes down to, just like everything that we teach our children, is they're looking to us on how we deal with losses. And
Yeah.
look at the whole past 8 months of losses and how we're grieving things,
Hmm.
freaking out, swearing, flipping somebody off, or retreating. The child sees that we're hopeless or whatever. The first thing is always the child watching and seeing how we deal with losses in life, the little ones and the big ones.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And that is true. I think for anyone, child in particular, because they could have some difficult time, dealing with a loss, or any loss, or getting no to, getting the no, and they could be, hard on them, and not to, mention, that's why school bullying, and the early, those bullying, that can really have really negative impact on long term development. And that's why it's very important to kind of control school bullying, and
Mm-hmm.
also, those initial trauma, same stands for, any sexual trauma, or those could be very devastating, for any child. That's why it's important that we make sure that we realize it's not just they're innocent. Their mind is has nothing. Whatever you put it in is gonna stay for a long time.
Yeah.
So that is important discussion, that that we emphasize parents, that every interaction, especially the first few years of development, are so important, because it can define the personality. The time they spend, the parents' time they spend with the kids, is so important in first few years, for 0 to 5, I would say, or especially 0 to 1 or 2, very very important.
And showing kids vulnerability and that we struggle too, that also helps them see their place in the world. They're not just going to hide inside themselves thinking they're being bad or naughty or they're
Mhm,
stupid or they're unimportant. I know you're having a tough day. I'm having a tough day too. Or, be
mhm,
open and vulnerable with your children and let them see that that is okay to be that way. So they're more likely to open up with you.
mhm,
I mentor self-harming teens on Instagram,
mhm,
and it's not only are they lacking faith and identity and self-awareness and their place in the world, but they
mhm,
feel that they don't aren't allowed to open up. Well, I know my mom loves me, but she doesn't want to hear it. Or, my dad's too busy drinking and he doesn't want to hear what I have to say. And I'm like, they do. Please open up to your parents. We've got to let them know I am here for you. I am listening. I care. Please, whatever's on your mind. It's so huge.
mhm. So that is very good because and then the other problem is now with the the phones and so forth, digital media. A lot of parents could be also on the phone, and they wouldn't be talking to kids,
Hmm.
and then that is sad because as you know it can really cause a lot of, as you said, if they want to express that, they just don't want to write that I love you, but which is also nice, but that's also expressive, by the way, expressive way of defining that love
Hmm.
or any emotions. So but if they are just watching TV or sorry, the computer or the iPad or whatever they have, the portable device, that's not expression. That is, watching is not expression, right?
It's
So they either
completely
have
disassociating. The child feels such isolation. Yeah, that
to.
feeling of isolation and loneliness. We all know that horrible feeling, and the
Mhm.
child feels it tenfold. Yeah.
And that's that you could be in the same room and they could be very lonely.
Yep.
You know, or
And
you could be
everybody
like,
watching that knows that feeling. You know it very well. Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, Also tell us, since you mentioned some of your work is with teenagers and younger kids, what else do you find more common that you would like to share right now?
Mm, Well, I mentor the self-harming teens, and I'm a crisis coach for first responders. And again, we know from watching in the news the suicide and everything. Again, it's just that isolation and feeling lonely and feeling that people won't understand. And a lot of times, too, the external, what we have coming at us, can make us feel isolated and cut off from people and whatever. And one thing that I want to help people, if you're watching and you feel any of this, the big, big thing that I had to allow, that I had to learn um, from my whole life of getting bullied and just different things in my life was when someone compliments you, a lot, take that in and listen to what they're saying. If someone sees something good in you, accept it. Don't let your mind fight it. No, I'm useless. I'm a loser. I'm, whatever. Allow people's words to soothe you and cover you and replace, just like the I am affirmations, right? We listen to that for success and for health and whatever.
Mhm,
Allow people's words to soothe you and to not. I had a tough time with my in-laws for 30 years. And
mhm,
what I learned after therapy, just like a little kid, I put up a 1 foot force field around me, and I could not let their words come within that boundary and prick my skin or get to my heart. I had to let it just bounce off. And so, yeah, Jess, you've got to have a sense of self and a sense of what you're putting into the world as far as positivity, negativity, and taking responsibility and having a lot of self accountability. That's huge. And a lot of these kids, too, they don't have accountability. They're just, the parents are doing whatever. And so self accountability and faith leads to hope. And when you have hope, you can smash boundaries, and you can create boundaries and smash goals. So all these things work together, and you can have a new life. You can have a new life no matter what you've gone through, but it's a choice. You've got to
mhm,
choose to see the joy in the day. And that's exactly the last page of my book. It shows kids how to choose the joy in the day.
mhm. Yeah, and that is important thing is, brain is fascinating in that respect that it has a lot of ability to come back and heal and get better and better. But it would never happen if we don't allow, or the positivity is very infectious, in really lights up brain in a beautiful fashion, like all over. And it kind of opens up so many senses, how the brain is, it is fascinating. As you know, it's a round structure, so it gets input from all the neurons, and it kind of centralizes to the center part of it. But it can do that if your negativity actually brings that inner circle, kind of makes it depressing, in that it would not let those senses coordinate that. So which means, let's say, if there is a beautiful sound outside or music outside, we would not appreciate as much. If we are very sad and we are very withdrawn, then it doesn't matter that input is being. But if we are in a little better situation or thought, we can hear those frequencies. If we are outside and we listen to the birds and we look at the sun and the colors, vision, so we get that positive energy. It feeds so beautifully to heal our brain, and that's what I think you're trying to say also. That
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, and then we could bring up the neurotransmitters too, right? That was the other
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
I learned
I
years
love.
and years and years ago about being addicted to being sad, and you just want to hold on to it. And for people who are watching, if you're not familiar, this is my very minimal, immature
Mm,
way of putting it, but the
yeah,
neurotransmitters in our brain, it's like a train track. And the more you think about something, the more you just keep going along that track, and your brain goes there faster and more often. And
that,
you've got to change that. You've got to, but you can change it. And by me listening to the theta sounds on binaural beats, it just helped soothe all the electricity that I had in my brain, the crazy thoughts and the negativity and the raciness and everything, so that I could feed it beauty and goodness and nurture myself.
that is true.
Yeah.
The neurons, there are different neuron set of transmitter which are secreted more and more. If we get more, some energy and keep walking on the track, that's true. And that also feeds into, make sure sleep is good,
Mm.
make sure
Yeah.
you're sleeping good, because that's where your brain, the emotional memory, the emotional part, consolidation happens, in dream portions and so forth. And that improves if we get a good night's sleep. And so have a consistency on the sleep discipline. So that's very important, going to bed enough hours, and quality and quantity both matter. Those
And
are the
taking
good.
advantage of all the tips and tricks that we read about to have a good
Yeah.
night's sleep. Yeah, it's so important to follow all of that.
Yeah, and a lot of
You're
people
just like a
ask
fighting
me, and
chance.
yeah, and a lot of people ask me, but actually the solutions are very simple. But they think, oh no, they can't be that simple. No, it is very simple actually. So there is reason. I said, well, look at the birds. Look at the animals. They go on time, and they sleep on time, and they wake up on time. They eat on time. The reason is because they take advantage of the nature. They are outside. So the blue light, the
Yeah.
blue sky. I said, look at the blue sky. There's a reason the sky is blue. It can be white. Oh, I mean, it can be at times white, but the blue color actually stimulates our brain
Hmm.
differently than and the sleep. So every day our brain drifts by 15-20 minutes forward, but every day it needs a resetting, and that can only happen if you communicate with the nature, go outside and seek the positive energy. But if you're indoors,
Mm.
you will be more sad and more depressed for sure.
Yeah.
Going through emotional trauma or emotions or brain healing is it takes longer than bone healing, skin healing, or any other healing in the brain, in the body,
Mm.
because the brain neurons are a slow process than other process, which means you have to be patient. You have to be patient with it, but it does happen, you know.
And
Um,
I tell people, put mark on the calendar 3 months out and 6 months out, and decide
yeah.
who you want to be, and check up on yourself. And when you have an unfailing faith, that
Mhm,
brings hope, so that you
mhm.
can put boundaries up, you're going to be able to smash your goals, and you're going to be able to sleep, because when you're putting boundaries up and not allowing yourself to act a certain way, to do certain things, or to invite certain things into your life, you're able to sleep, because that's what we're up all night thinking about, right? Is, oh, I have this and I have that. And of course, some things are out of our control, but boundaries and really living a clean life and making good choices for yourself are huge, or your conscience is going to kill you.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
huge.
Also tell us. I wanted to ask you, in your experience, what was helpful for you? What did you find was few positive things which were help you to recover or get better?
In Like I said, I went to rehab in 2014, and just that sentence of realizing that it wasn't about me, that was a huge step. And when I came out, I was actually living a double life. When I ended up in rehab, I had a nervous breakdown kind of a thing, I don't know, in 2010, and I started doing very bad things and living a bad life. My husband and my children paid the price for it. I paid the price for it, but we've all come through it, I have to say. Um, I started therapy as soon as I got out of rehab, and my beautiful 85-year-old therapist said to me, "Stop handing people your worth on a silver platter." That
Oh,
was huge.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was
that's
huge.
huge. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
that.
I went a couple more years. I was very suicidal because I didn't know how to cope with my behaviors. I still didn't know, why am I struggling with this? Why am I so drawn to this? Why do I feel like I need this, like heroin? It's like an addiction. And anybody watching this who loves food or porn or whatever, it's like such an addiction. And I had to I had to meet myself where I was and accept myself for who I was and where I was. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive others for what they had done to me. I had a lot of men who abused me as a child, and some I reported to the police and some I didn't. And then here I am as an adult, not only having to say, why didn't I allow myself to get retribution for all those things, but now I've just allowed these disgusting men on sites to traumatize me even more. And in fact, I was traumatizing myself.
Oh, sad,
And that
sad.
was a lot of self-hatred. So I went through not only was I suicidal my whole life, but now it was serious ideation. I would call my husband and say, I don't know how I'm going to be here when you get home. And my children said goodbye to me in their hearts. It was really heavy. In
Oh,
February
yeah. I mean,
2017, I finally took suicide off the table, and I started my Instagram account. And this is what I teach people: if you're in here, get out of there. I went on, I started looking up all self harming teens and depressed kids, and I knew that I now had what I needed to help kids who are going through a lot. And from there, I went on to pages for women with domestic violence issues, domestic violence pages, and first responders, and coaching first responders through their crisis. Um, and then I started my memoir. My memoir is like 12 years in the making, but with my concentration and memory issues, it's just, I can't do it. So I have my children's book, and I spread hope to little kids, and I can do my little things online. And I don't get paid for any of it. I've just been coaching and mentoring and doing all this just to get out of my own head and spread the knowledge of what I've been doing. I don't get paid for this. I'm doing 3 podcasts a week, and I just want everybody to know you can heal.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful message, and I can tell you, people will relate to your message and podcast. Yeah, money is one thing, but also, we do a lot of, actually, I do all mine also pretty much free, because even TV programs and all that, because it's more about awareness, health, and so forth. It's not, it's that you make money from it, but it is, somebody has to, I strongly believe somebody has to do positive things. And I'll be very honored that if we are the one chosen to do that, because there is so much negativity, there's so much misguidance out there, there's so much hatred out there, that if we have few people who believe in good, and they are like yourself doing, I think they're doing fantastic job. And that's why when I saw your profile, it's why I have to get her on our show and kind of highlight that, because that's what we do. We just pick whoever is doing good work, and we highlight them, because if we are not going to help each other on that, I don't know, then it'd be sad day for a lot of good people.
Yeah, yeah. It is,
Thank you for,
and it's funny because people are surprised when I say it's an honor. It is an
yeah.
honor to have gone through that. and to be able to be here and tell people it really is. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, thank you for coming to our show. If you can tell us then your final message for our audience, and then we can wrap it up.
My final message is you have to be your own hero. You are your own hero and you can do it. Meet yourself where you are. Find a faith that is not going to fail you when you are in the dredges. It's going to, faith automatically brings hope so that you can put up boundaries for yourself. You've got to have boundaries and you will smash your goals.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, and give us feedback and by Twitter, Facebook, or email, whatever you like, and we should be able to get that handled for everyone. Okay. Take care, and thank you for coming and tuning in.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.